Hi everyone, from me, Brent Graham of goodforthegame.co.za, Thursday night, 9 o'clock, time for the handicap. Bit of a worrying sign when I started the show there. It took quite a long time to go live, which tells me maybe my Wi-Fi is going to be playing up tonight. I certainly hope not. Anyway, we're going to have two guests in studio. I've got one of them in there already. He's in the UK at the moment. He hosted the show last week and did a damn good job. I really enjoyed listening to it. And it's at the Crow Tips. Chris, how you doing, mate? Good to have you on the show.
Yeah, good. Thanks, Brent. Good to be back. I do enjoy doing the hosting as well. It's feels a little bit of pressure to give the opinions out there, but today I'll get in the hot seat. I'm looking forward to it. I mean, it's been a great Six Nations, so looking forward to wrapping it up with you boys.
Yeah, looking forward to it. We've got Nathan joining us. I'll just check have I got my phone now? I don't have my phone here, but I'll just check later on. But he normally pops in the first minute or so. But we were just having a bit of a laugh before the show because we were talking about a mutual sort of he's a friend of mine, but someone through the forum and that old Coil. And I was telling you we met when I was a gym instructor, and I carried on talking, but I saw your face sort of go like, what? The fact that I was a gym instructor, but I guess we all had very different lives many years ago. I mean, that was 94 when I met him, so that was over 30 years ago. I was a gym instructor, so I won't lay claim to that now.
Brent, I was keeping that in the pocket to throw it out there to the audience with a surprise, but you've ruined it now. So well, but yeah. I'm not shocked. I've seen young Brenty pictures on Facebook. Yeah, that little stud. Yeah, I could see it.
Well, yeah, I was just we just chatting a little bit while we wait for Nathan to come in to talk Super Rugby. But last year, at the start of last year, I gave myself a pull-up challenge, wide arm pull-ups, and I gave myself a challenge of 5. And I've been training for a few months already, but I couldn't do one. And geez, what a battle it was! But I managed to squeeze 5 out, and I've carried on this year. And I'm not making a public thing of it this time, but I reckon I'm going to try to aim for 10. And I might have to show the odd video or whatever on the show.
Well, you say that, but I'm sure I've seen a few pull-up videos floating around social media.
Yeah, there is. In fact, on my Twitter page, I did one where I showed my attempt last year, and then
was that long ago? Jeez, I didn't even realize. I just remember seeing.
That was in December that I hit the 5, and then I haven't really put much on since then. Nathan has messaged me. He says it's going to be a bit late, so we're going to start with URC. I'm going to message him and say I've received the message. Let's start with URC then. That's the beauty of the show. We can be pretty flexible when we need to be. There's 3 games. I'm not expecting us to chat too much about the first 2 games, Chris, unless you surprise me. But the third game is going to be quite big. But let's start off anyway with Edinburgh up against Ulster. I've got a bit of a rule that I don't get too involved in these URC games when the Six Nations is on, other than the SA derbies, which of course are not impacted. Edinburgh plus 1.5. Any feel here on this?
Well, no. Like as you said, it's bunch of players that I also generally don't know. It's a Friday night, which also USC Friday nights also seem to be a damn squid for me. So no, when I have bets, I mean, I'm normally I love an Edinburgh home bet, but that's when they're packed with their Scottish internationals, usually playing against a Welsh team or a lower ranked team or Italy team. So this is probably not the spot to be back in Edinburgh. But I was wondering why Ulster were favourites. But I suppose Ulster are probably the teams that they are putting at Ulster would be the slight favourites. But in short, I'm not getting involved in that because for me it could be Edinburgh win by 7 or an Ulster win by 7. But because I did see the Ulster team sheet, but like I said, a few names I didn't recognise, changes, guys from the youth team. So that's why I was surprised that they were favourites. But then I don't know. I hadn't seen Edinburgh's team, and I would imagine Edinburgh's team is probably just as low key, right? So that's probably why it is what it is. So I'm definitely not getting involved with this one, Brent.
Well, it's all the points line was quite low. Quickly pop to the weather, and it does look like there is some rain about, but also easing off in the evening. And it is one of those, I think it's a synthetic surface as well. So it could be one of those where I think what is it, 44.5 starts looking a little bit tempting. That's quite frankly, let's not talk ourselves into a bet here, though, Chris.
well, if it's a quiet Friday, you know how it is. At 43, that has our attention, right?
Yeah, I can stuff a Friday night up very, very good. And first guy to join us in the live chat today. We've had a slow start from the boys in the comments section. Werner, good to have you on the show, mate. Look forward to any comments you might have along the way. Right, let's move on to the second game then on Friday night, and that is Connacht. They are -9.5 against the Scarlets. Any views on this one, Chris?
Again, not. And again, Connacht is a team that I like to bet at home, back at home when they have their strongest guys on the field and against the Scarlets. So if this was like any other day, any other time of the year, I would be back in Connacht, but I suppose Connacht will probably be a heavier favorite. But again, two teams with their second, third stringers, it's a guessing game for me if I'm getting involved, right? But if you had to push me, it would be Connacht, but maybe not even on the cap, maybe on their points. But Scarlets have been a lot better this year. But I'm going to be brutally honest, I haven't been following the URC nearly as much as I usually do, and on top of that, even if these were at full strength teams, I might not even have a very firm view. So I definitely don't have one now. So it's, you know what I mean.
Well, let's hope Shane's punting form improves compared to what he commented here, because he said Brent is wearing a Sunderland FC shirt, being all things horse racing here at the Cheltenham Festival. And I have seen that, but if you move this slowly so the camera doesn't run, it's actually a Brentford shirt. Wait, what happened there? Hollywood Bets is the sponsor, and my mate Brendan gave it to me. Was in the UK. So Shane, this is actually a Brentford shirt. I know it looks very much like the red and white stripes of Sunderland as well, which, by the way, is Chris Sturdy's team. Johanna Esterhuizen, who's no doubt feverishly working away on his treble for the night. He is saying good evening as well. Johanna, always good to have you on the show. If I remember correctly, you won a voucher in our poker bet quiz the other night, so I hope you used that one wisely. Right, let's talk about the big URC game without a doubt. Yeah. I haven't seen a point line on this one, Chris. It's at Loftus. -7.5 the Bulls against the Stormers. Two sides on different trajectories at the moment. Well, the Bulls have also battled a bit, but certainly the Stormers have come down from that early season high quite dramatically.
Yes.
What do you make of this cap?
To be honest, I was hoping for 10, and I would have been all over the Stormers, to be honest. I know their two teams have gone completely the opposite direction compared to the start, as you said. Stormers off to a flyer, Bulls off to a stinker, and they both seem to have gone completely opposite directions. Even though Stormers there are still sitting in front of the Bulls, and I think even if the Bulls win even without a bonus point, Stormers are still above them, which doesn't even feel right, because it all of a sudden feels like Bulls are a much better side than the Stormers. But I think, I think Dobbo got it horribly wrong, putting Sasha as captain, and I also think there were a lot of false positives there for Stormers. They played very weak teams in the beginning of the season. They did. So I think, this is probably some equilibrium coming about here. But at 7, and obviously the trends are saying Bulls are going to win. I still think Bulls are going to win, but I do like the Stormers plus here. I think they have a try. I think this is probably Stormers had some time to think about it. I think they might regroup, and I think they might get Bulls a little bit cold. And I think it's going to be a classic arm wrestle South African derby. I know the Stormers have. I mean, when the Sharks victories were very, very weird as well. Big Sharks wins in the end, But I think I'm gonna call it that I think Stormers are regrouping. I think I'm hearing they're going to be changes. I think Rio Knowles back in the back line. I think he really does solidify that back line. If I'm not wrong, when the captaincy has been taken away, which has probably let him play his natural game. So it's a week plus on the Stormers. As I said, I was hoping to get 10. Would have been all over Stormers, or at least 10.5. Get that hook. But I'm going to lean on the Stormers plus here. What about you, Brenty?
Yeah, I'm going to share my thoughts on that in a sec. Just as Shane's just saying, you'll chime in for Six Nations. Look forward to that, Shane. We're going to chat about that in just a minute. I'm leaning Bulls minus here. I think the Bulls at home are going to be very, very tough to beat. So I'm leaning in that direction. First of all, I just want to say I haven't actually heard anyone mention it really, but I totally agree with you on Sasha there. I'm not saying he can never be the captain or whatever, but I just think it was a poor decision to rush him into any sort of thing like captaincy there. And rather just leave him playing his natural game, and he just seems to me like he is forcing things a bit. So totally agree.
Yeah.
I'm leaning Bulls here, Chris. So we probably in the opposite direction in the sense that, although I'm not sure I would take the -10.5, but I'll probably take the -7.5. But let me give you a points line here. I don't have one, but I'll give you. I think the bookies will come out at 55.5 for this game. Are you overs or unders, assuming good weather at Loftus? Chris, can you hear me? I wonder if maybe someone in the live chat can let me know if it's Chris's Wi-Fi or mine that's be given the problem there. Chris, you still there?
Yeah.
Ah,
I would have actually probably kept it slightly lower. I would have thought it would have been near you. Yeah, can you hear me?
okay. So you would think it would be lower, eh? Okay, so 55.5. So would you be an unders? I doubt it, though. You'd rather have no bet.
No bet. I would, but 55 for me is well capped. I think that's well capped. I think it's going to be around there at the end of the game. So I'd probably stay away from the overs. I would normally like it, but the Bulls Stormers games can get tight. So there's too much of that risk for me that it does get tight. So I'll stay away from the points.
Well, it's time to welcome the Mossman who's entered the story, the studio, should I say. The last time that man said the words no bet was when he was 18 years old. Mossman, no, only kidding. He's actually quite disciplined at sitting out games. Welcome, mate. You have a bit of a hectic start there to your Friday?
It is a bit of a hectic start, yeah. It was long story short, kids mufti day. I don't know if you guys know what a mufti day is, but
no clue.
So mufti day here is when kids go to school and they don't have to wear the uniform. Like, so they have a few times a year where they just can wear what
Civvies day.
Civvies, right? Yeah, we call it mufti, so they can wear whatever they want. But they also, I hadn't seen this one before. They call it crazy hair day, so they needed to do something weird with their hair. So I was spraying some sort of red paint into my son's hair before he went to school. So these are the things you do.
That's it, I always say, I mean, and I've said this a few times on the show, when your kids are in full cry, if I can put it that way, playing sport and all of that sort of stuff, but you actually have the least time for like studying up on punting or that. It just takes up so much of your time. And eventually you get that time back. And then the question then is, if you still got the same enthusiasm and energy you had when you were younger to do all the research and stuff like that. But look forward to chatting with you, Mossman. And we're going to get you straight in. I'll ask you the question first. I'm assuming you're not going to bother with Friday night's URC. But any view on the Bulls Stormers game? We've got Bulls minus 7.5. Any views at all?
Not at all. No.
Nothing on the UFC. That's fine.
No, like I said last week, I've parked that for the moment, so I'm just fully focused on Six Nations and Super, and might ease back into some other stuff later. But I'm as I mentioned previously, I'm just finding that like being fully focused has been good. So yeah.
Yeah, pick one or two tournaments and fully focus on. Couldn't agree more. And let's get you on one of the tournaments that you do focus on, which of course is Super Rugby. Hurricanes. I think, am I right in saying you were quite strong on them last week against the Waratahs? I know. Yeah. I remember you saying in the show. I mean, they absolutely hammered them. Was it yourself as well, Chris? I mean, they absolutely hammered them in the end. I see it was quite close at halftime. I didn't watch the game, but minus 21.5 now. Nathan against the Force, and we've got a points line here of 60.5.
Yeah, it was. I was on the Hurricanes last week. Yeah, it was no race really in the end. This one, I do quite like the Force at that number, and there's a couple of factors in this one. So one is the Force have gone full noise. So there's no sort of hint of them, resting or rotating for this game. They'll probably be a little bit disappointed to have not maybe come away with a bit more last week from the Highlanders game, having been leading at halftime in that game. So they're obviously, keen to take something out of this one. The Hurricanes have rotated, like especially in the forwards, but they've got a very strong bench. They've basically got their kind of starting front row, starting on the bench. Ruben Love's back via the bench. So I do like the Force. The way I've actually chosen to get at this one is that I took a kind of a large halftime plus on the Force, and then took the Hurricanes at a smaller minus at the end for the full game, which actually paid more than I thought it would. Like it seemed kind of counterintuitive that you could take, and I don't remember the exact numbers, but say it might have been Force plus 16.5 halftime, and then Hurricanes minus 8.5 full time, and that was about even money, which, as I said, sort of surprised me. But yeah, so there's more of a game script thing that I like the Force. I like them better in the first half. There's been a bit of a pattern actually that they have fallen away towards the end of games. As I said, they were leading at halftime last week, and lost by 8. They were, I don't know if they were leading, but they were certainly in the fight against Brumbies in the first week, and then ended up getting pumped, just gave it away towards the end of the game. I think some of the other games followed a similar pattern. The Blues game, they were in it early, and then ended up losing. So yeah, it wouldn't surprise me, especially having this is the third game, in New Zealand, that maybe a little bit of kind of fatigue maybe sets in towards the end of this one, and then the Hurricanes will have some pretty big firepower coming off the bench.
It's quite interesting, Nathan. There's only one bookmaker that I know in South Africa that offer a second half handicap before the game. So to give you an example here, they've actually got the Hurricanes -9.5 second half, and it's quite a nice option to have that. And I can understand maybe why other bookies don't do it, because it's quite hard. If you're following an algorithm, it's it's almost impossible to, what I mean? The algorithm's going to take the thing and pretty much divide it in half, or somewhere around that sort of line. But I mean, here they got the -9.5. I mean, that if you could access, and I don't know if, as I said, I don't see this at many bookies, but that would be another option for your strategy on this game, is just to have a flat bet on the Canes sort of -9.5.
Yep, yeah, that would be a similar sort of thing, I think. Yeah, so so when they say second half only, it's just treating the second half as its own contest.
Yes, as if the game's kicking off at half time type of thing, which is quite nice. And the way you've done it is kind of getting to the similar type of results. It's just a workaround where that bet's almost not available, but yeah, I just thought it's one of those things. I don't know. I would like other bookmakers to offer it, but for some reason, just the one bookie in South Africa has offered that for years and years. But Chris, we'll bring you in. We'll bring you in now on this one. Any views on the points or the cap here?
I would have liked a few less points, but I'm going to double down on the Canes. I hear what Nathan's saying about the Force, but at the end of the day, I think Force at home. I know it's not at the Cape Town, right? I think it's at McLean Park, but I'm not going to make that too much of an issue. I love Canes points here. I'm not on the cap because I think the Force can contribute or maybe backdoor cover if the Canes do fall away. But I think I capped the Canes points at 42, 43. I'm getting 39.5. So I quite like the Canes on the points. I think they get to 45 at least. I'm quite comfortable on that. So I like the Canes overs, yeah. And if you want to take them in an out, take them on a lower point in an out double somewhere else. That will probably work as well. But I do like I did check the weather. It does it could be rain around. So again, maybe check it out. I'm not going to be in New Zealand weather. I've got weather reports. I've been stung way too many times on that one. But yeah, I'm pretty comfortable that the Canes will break 40 points. Yeah, they'll keep contributing to the scoreboard. And like you say, strong bench, Force. I think the Force will waltz away in the second half when the Canes will get over this points line.
I'm actually just looking to see if I can find a Canes second half points line. I can't. I see, Nathan, just what do you make of if I gave you, I see the Force points is 19.5 in this game, and get a little bit over 9 to 10 on that. Would you be an overs player, or would it be a case of leaving the points alone?
Yeah, I'm a little bit weary of the points for a couple of reasons. So, one is that I think some of the numbers that you see for points do get inflated by, say, previous week's point scoring, and there's probably a couple of examples of that coming up a bit later. But the Force scored, I think it was 3 tries against the Highlanders direct from line outs. I think the Highlanders, maul defense is kind of non-existent, so they'll probably come up with something a little bit more resistant this week. So, and then they're traditionally not a big scoring team, so it's almost like if you can defend them more, the Force might struggle to score.
100%. Yeah, I am. Even as I said, quite nervous about the Force there. Yes, Chris?
It's also a very interesting centre pairing of Kirky Beale and George Bridge. It's so random as hell. But obviously internationals, but it just doesn't look right on paper for whatever reason in my mind. I mean, they make go well, but yeah, it's just interesting to see that.
Well, Fareed reckons Kane's cap is too high there. Let's move on to Saturday's action. This game, 5:35 on Saturday morning. It takes place in, I don't know how you pronounce it, Bar. And it's the first ever Super Rugby game at this ground, and I'm gonna let me actually start with Nathan again on this one, because I I know you research the grounds and that quite a bit. What can we expect here, Nathan? We've got a +2.5 handicap. I did actually put a bet up on the Good for the Game blog early in the week. I took the draw on the board at I think it was 23-10. I was handicapped at that stage, just +7.5, but I just took them straight up. I thought the money would come for the draw, and it has. What do you make of the stadium, first of all? What can we expect?
Yeah, it's Bar is on the same kind of stretch of coastline as Lautoka is, so they're not far away from each other. Same island, same side of the island. So I think just in terms of pure conditions, though, it'll be very similar to Lautoka, and similar to Lautoka, that when you look at the weather forecast, you'll see thunderstorms forecast, which I think it always is like at certain times of the year, and it's just whether it arrives at what time of the day it turns up. We're back to that kind of tropical conditions. It's I think it's a home football stadium for one of the local football soccer teams. As you said, first game played there. I don't know what that means in terms of support. I assume that when you play somewhere new like that people will turn up, because it's their probably their first opportunity maybe to go and support the Drua. So I don't think there'll be any lack of crowd support. So yeah, it's one of these ones you can never be too sure. It's the good old Fiji weather forecast. I know personally I'll just be waiting just to see what shows up when the TV coverage kicks in, because I sometimes you can do a little bit of detective work. So there was the Canes game actually against the Drua, so 2 weeks ago, and I managed to find on Twitter there was some photos of Drua players walking into the ground, and you could clearly see puddles of water on the ground. On Twitter, they'd also talked about how they had cancelled, or they'd called off at halftime the warm-up game, the curtain raiser. And they mentioned something about to prepare the ground, and I thought that doesn't sound good. When you call a game off at halftime, like there's obviously something not good about that ground. And sure enough, as soon as the TV coverage came on, you could see that it wasn't good. So I think that's kind of the approach you have to take with these Drua games.
I mean, many a time in rugby as well, especially when I was heavily into my spread betting, I mean, I would retweet some random person who happened to be in the town, not even watching the rugby game, and I would retweet some weather thing, and they must have thought, what the hell's going on here? But yeah, certainly I used to enjoy doing that bit of detective work to try and find out. Now, Chris, if you want to do some detective work just before the game on this one, it's going to be like 3:30 in the morning for you, am I right?
Possibly, and I won't be waking up for it. That I'll be 100% sure about. Unless I'm still awake. There's always those two options, so I'll have to see.
What, any views on it?
Well, first of all, I was shocked by the cap. I mean, it's Fiji at home, and yes, they've caused a lot of upset and teams a lot of pain. But in my mind, the Brumbies are just a far superior rugby team, even with some of the changes they have. So for me, the value is on the Brumbies, because they just are a better rugby side. Obviously, the Drua can bring it. So I see you got +2.5. I got -1 earlier in the day. I was all over that because I thought this cap should be around -4 or -5 at least. So I like the Brumbies value here, but I get it why Drua is what it is. But as I say, I prefer to back quality over the underdogs. That's always been my strategy. But weirdly so, that considering conditions, actually the unders here, can't believe I'm even saying it, but this could be a scrappy game. The unders could be in play here. So I might look at the unders. But I was happy with the Brumbies at 1. I just don't think that's the right cap for the top quality in each of the sides in the form that they've been showing. Yes, Drua beat the Canes, but I think they can do it. But I just think the Brumbies are just far too organised.
I'm taking the double. You and I have no sleep through this game, Chris. Not because it's boring, just because we're not going to be up. Just because it's early. Sorry, Nathan, you were saying?
No, I was just going to say it's one of these occasions, I guess, similar to that Canes game that the conditions will play like a huge part in the cap. Most of the time it doesn't really matter. Like it kind of evens out for both teams. Maybe if the conditions are really bad, you like the underdog because it generally drives down scoring and that makes the game closer naturally. With the Drua, it's slightly different. It's just that there's so much more used to playing in those really torrential kind of puddle on the pitch type conditions. And the Canes game was a good example of that. Like they, when normal teams sort of like kind of lose the ability to do what they normally do, the Drew are they just keep playing their normal game, and they've got sticky hands in these conditions that they're just so used to it. It was actually interesting because I did hear the Hurricanes coach in the lead up to the game say that they had been training with the sprinklers on, in Wellington, because they knew what to expect. So so it makes a material difference. So maybe you could find out if the Brumbies have been training with the sprinklers on in Canberra, because that might tell you what the conditions are going to be like.
Yeah, no, that's it. And funny, the one exception, I agree with what you're saying, and it's something I used to look out for as well quite a bit, teams that are used to certain conditions. The one exception over the years to the rule has always been the Sharks. They've played in humid Durban, but they've never been able to adapt to the humidity. They've actually adapted better. But I totally agree with what you're saying there. Chris, let's get to the next game. It's an absolute cracker. Crusaders, of course, beaten by the Highlanders in week 1. They're in Dunedin. They're now at home, -9.
Is that my internet or
no? That's Brent. So
yeah. So
you could probably just carry
on. Yeah.
Sorry, sorry guys. The jolly Wi-Fi. I suddenly realized the screen was blank. But I was actually quite strong on the Blues last week. In the end, I changed my mind after the show when you guys had mentioned all the team changes for the Crusaders. So I was on the Blues there as my main bet on the weekend. They arrived quite comfortably. What do you think, Chris? Highlanders, Crusaders, or Crusaders, Highlanders?
Yeah. I do like the Crusaders. Yeah, I think that maybe an obvious from my point of view, but I just think, I mean, they got to bounce back in. They've proven that they got the performance in them. They made a lot of weird mistakes last week. I don't think they were not firing by any more means at their best as well. So I think they bring their best, and I think they win, and I think they win there quite well. I mean, 9 is fair enough. I mean, maybe a few points, maybe bit high towards the Crusaders. I think maybe the Highlanders, if they bring what they brought last time they played them, they will keep that closer. But I think I think that 55 is eyeing me out. At anything under 57, I start to think about it. I like to get involved in the New Zealand derby sometimes, especially one at like this type of game, because I think the Crusaders are going to play hard and fast and open up the game. So I don't. The cap, I'm going to stay away. It's a slight lean on the Crusaders, but I do prefer the over 55.5. Yeah.
Right, Nathan, what are you doing in this one? I'm not sure I actually end up doing much, but I do lean Crusaders. I just, and it's not just this season. I think in general the Highlanders are a bit overrated just because the way that they play. They can have good performances, but it doesn't feel very repeatable to me. Just relying on long distance scores and Tangi Tau to bring up some magic, that kind of stuff, and also that maul defense that I mentioned last week, just that inability to stop the force from scoring from mauls. And if there's one thing we know the Crusaders will do is that they'll put it into the corner and want a maul over, and if you can't stop that, then the Crusaders will be all over you. So that's the way I'll lean. It was 7.5, and when it's one of these kind of situations where you always want a better number, but sometimes you really kick yourself, when the number moves, and it doesn't mean that necessarily the current number is a bad bet, but you've kind of have this lingering disappointment that you didn't do better, which it probably shouldn't stop you if you still like the side, but sometimes psychologically you kind of you're not as keen. So the points I'm still kind of on the fence about, but as I said, lean Crusaders. Whether I actually get involved in this one, undecided at the moment.
Johan Estesen saying Haaland has been good for him this season, but this might be a tough ask for them. I see Jordan back for the Crusaders as well.
Yeah, that's another thing.
I haven't really. Yeah, to me, he's just one of those players who's probably worth.
He's 7 points. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Let's move on to the Aussie derby now. There has been a bit of money for the Reds. Well, I did see -6.5 at one point a couple of days ago. And Nathan, -8.5 here at the moment on Bet Exchange, and a point sign of 56.5 in Brisbane.
Yeah, I think you can probably do better than 8.5. You know, if you get 7.5, I still like the Reds here. I'm personally on the Reds, and I just think there's a couple of things. I think I mentioned it last week. I think they kind of the Waratahs kind of caught the Reds cold in week 1, when, you know, I think teams are obviously not as organised as they would normally be, maybe missing a few people, I think, on the Reds side as well. And I didn't think that scoreline and the result was probably a fair reflection of the quality of the two teams. They feel like two teams may be going in slightly different directions as well. Like the Reds got people back, playing better. Waratahs have lost people, especially Suali'i, you know, like I think who was a real kind of talisman for them. Yeah, I mean, I think, and the other thing is, I think this is probably a bit of a revenge spot for the Reds from week 1. You know, they'll be keen to run up a score and reverse the kind of result that they saw in week 1. Yeah, I just feel like the Waratahs are trending down. I don't like the don't like the players they've lost on the coming into the season. I don't like the fact that the players that they've lost within the season. They've put, you know, Tristan Riley at 13. I've never seen or heard of him playing centre. Maybe he has in the past, but there's just a lot of things that just don't like about it. You know, and I think the Reds back at home in front of their home fans against their most hated team, you know, I think they'll be max motivated, and yeah, things can go bad for the Waratahs. You know, we saw that last week, and that wouldn't surprise me here.
It's tough to bounce back. There's a matter of interest. I was quickly looking at some of the local bookies because I did this prices about an hour and a half before the show, and yeah, I actually see it's gone 10.5 here in South Africa now.
Wow.
Minus 10.5 the Reds, so the money has certainly come for them now. So Bet Exchange and PokerBet both got 10.5. So yeah, if you do want to get on, I think if you shop around here, and I'm talking now, you know, you might still get a bit of 8.5 or whatever, but you'll have to probably move fairly quickly. It seems like that line is definitely coming in. Chris, your views on this one?
Yeah, pretty much share with sentiments of Nathan there. I mean, he's pretty much summed it up. It's very hard to make a case for the Tars here after the last couple of weeks of performance and the team sheets and, as I said, everything that Nathan has mentioned. So yeah, I would have loved 6.5 just because it is a derby and the Tars did put the one up over them last time, but there's no sentiment there, and the bookies are smarter these days. But yeah, I think this could be a double-digit win for the Reds for sure. You could even look at the Reds' points. I think it's going to be a tough day for the Tars, and the weather looks set fair, looks all right there. So I think it could be quite a open game as well. So yeah, Reds. I'll also be on the Reds. I like the Reds here, so I'll be backing them in some form, one way or another.
Right, I see at PokerBet there you can get sort of 17 to 20 Reds over 32.5, but you can get over 9 to 10, just over 9 to 10, 33.5 if you're prepared to take an extra point. I also quite like the look of those Reds points there as well that Chris is talking about. Chris, let's finish off Super Rugby with you. We've got a big handicap in the last game.
Yeah.
Just having a quick look to see how up to date my caps are. Yeah, still minus 27.5 at Bet Exchange. And I've got points line here of 69.5 at PokerBet. I mean, that's big, but like last week, you know, the talk on the show, and I was totally in agreement, was, you know, sometimes the cap gets so high, it's worth having a punt just because it's so high. And then last week, obviously, the Pacifica game went absolutely crazy. What do you think of this game? And the points line in particular, I'm interested in your views.
It is high, but I can understand why it's high. If you're just opposing Pacifica away, especially New Zealand, and on the team points against whoever they're playing for, probably would have served you well a lot of the time in the last 2 years and a couple of years. So I wouldn't be surprised. It's the same situation. Yeah, it's just also it is if it was, like I said, the Chiefs again, and it was a Sunday afternoon in good, pleasant weather, which I think, again, it might be in Auckland. And I love those Sunday afternoon games for Super Rugby. They often bring out quite high-scoring games. So it's just that I know the Blues, they're looking good, but I still don't trust them, right? So I want to back it. I feel like I really want to do it, but I still just feel that Blues Pacifica, they've been bad, but they have those odd games where they come through and they put everything out there, and this could be that game. So I want to back the Blues. I want to back the overs. I could even back the overs on this one, considering the matchup and the conditions. But I'm going to be tentative on this game and wait till Sunday and see if I still have any sleep by Sunday morning, or what my bank balance looks like. And maybe I'll have it. No, I'm joking. I don't have a firm view. It's just too much don't have to rely on the Blues and possibly specific if any of the stuff to come through. So I'm going to stick out of it and see where we are.
Well, I mean, looking at the time of the game in the UK, I didn't realize it's a 4:35 start here in South Africa. So you're going to be getting home from your night out and making the decision of either go to bed or you watch a game. If it's going to be one or the two. Nathan, what are you doing? Will you be at the ground for this one?
I will be actually. I was actually at the Blues Crusaders game last weekend, and this is as you said, Sunday game. Kids go free, so I think I'll probably be heading along with maybe a mate and his kids. So you mentioned that Moana have a game in them, and often it's against the Blues because it's the kind of crosstown rivalry thing. They obviously put one over the Blues last year. They've actually, even in the years where Moana were proper bad, like they pushed the Blues in the past. The Blues are just a little bit different from the Chiefs in the sense that they're not as high flying, they're not as high scoring. They're probably less likely to go and put up 60 points than some of the other teams, including the Hurricanes, I would say as well. So they're more of a grinded out kind of a team, and so I think. I mean, if it gets closer to kickoff and there's 70 points sort of kicking around, I think, and it will be correlated, but a bet builder that takes Moana and the under would probably, if I could get decent odds on that's probably the direction that I would look, because I think, as I said, those two things are correlated. If it turns into a bit more of a rock fight than people are thinking. And Moana are staying in it, and then the game will probably go under at the same time. So, that's the direction I've go. But at the moment, I'm only involved because I've got there was quite a big middle that I was able to get between. I think it was sort of 28.5 and 23, and I just took it just because I knew I was going to be at the game, and it kind of gave me something to cheering for 25 points exactly. So that's all I'm doing at the moment.
I think better than when you hit one of those, I can tell you. So yes, Chris.
And also, Blues can almost guarantee you a 20-30 minute quiet period at some point. Even if they go 4 or 5 tries up, they can go missing. They can easily go missing to bring all of those high caps back into the play. So that's what I say about the trust. Blues have never been a team that just put ruthless and put the throttle down and stick it down and go all the way. Well, maybe they will this time, but I don't recall seeing that for a very long time.
Right, let's move on to Six Nations then. Looking forward to chatting about this. The Six Nations, certainly at the start of the tournament, everyone was talking about France against England as the Grand Slam decider. Well, it hasn't proven to be the case. England may have to pull something out. No, England should be safe from the wooden spoon. It would take a miraculous result for Wales to put them there. But I mean, England have not had the tournament they expected, and even France, of course, beaten last week by Scotland. I can tell you, betting-wise, France are still big favourites. Are around the 1-5 mark to win. You got Ireland around about 7-8 to 1, and Scotland just a little bit bigger. So very exciting that we got the Six Nations sort of probably a little bit closer than many of us expected as well, especially after the way France started. So let's have a look. I'm going to be bringing up some of Shane's stats as well while we're chatting on this. But the first game, mate of mine is over in Ireland at the moment on holiday. His son, who has met him over there, he stays in Denmark. He's taking him to this game for his birthday. So really looking forward to that. And Paul, if you're watching the show, which I know you're probably not, enjoy the game. Right, Chris, start us off here. We got a 50.5 in Dublin. Weather I don't think is too bad in this one, from what I could tell. And Ireland -5.5.
Yeah, so I've been jumping around on this one all day, to be honest, because I actually started positively on Scotland. I thought they deserve to be closer, less of underdogs. I thought the cap should possibly be around 3. This was earlier in today, but the more I thought about it and looked at the game and the team sheets, and that they are missing their 2 men, their big locks, who are so important for them. I think Scotland are a team that they have to have the band, what Nathan said, the band fully together most of the time to perform, right? And they've been instrumental. Scotland have had to have that pack in Grant and go in and full steam to do all in any game, to give those backs a run, which they have been doing. So it bothers me a lot that they are out, and that's what's probably brought this cap a bit out. And then obviously there is this record. Ireland do have a good record against Scotland. It is in Ireland. Like maybe if it was at Murrayfield, maybe with a separate view. So as I said, I've been jumping around. And that's why I haven't given you a firm view. I'm still going to lean on the plus here. I still think it's going to end up being a close game. I think Ireland will win in the end. I think they're just probably going to pull it out. I think they'll probably just be able to do it. I think Scotland might have invested a hell of a lot in the last two games, and they just might run out of puff at this final hurdle, even though they are in it. So they have all the motivation to. But I've never seen it from them to really deliver. Like I said it last week, and they proved me horribly wrong. So I'm kind of got the same sentiment that they're going to fall short now in this game. But I'm still on the cap side. I'm still going to go on the plus. I was really hoping for a little bit of a lower points line, to be honest. I was actually looking at the points. I think it's been about 45 for the last 2 or 3 times they've played, and I've been on the overs on those 3 times and won. So that was the exact strategy I was looking for this week as well. So with the cap out at 6 and the line at 50, I'm now a little bit not sure. Probably leaning on the plus. I'm going to stay away from the points now because it's going to probably be in and around that 50 mark come the end of the game.
All right, Nathan, this first Six Nations game, what do you make of the cap?
Yeah, it's an interesting one because I think if Scotland had lost last week, I think you're probably looking, at a cap here that's probably 7.5 or something along those lines. And you could say that Scotland have been upgraded from last week, and that's fair. 2 points would still be a lot, but I do have a sense that it was kind of a perfect storm in some ways last week, and it's not disrespectful to Scotland, but we all know that France can be traveling like the best team in the world, and then just absolutely tank one. Like this, they've been like that for years. They have become more consistent, I guess, in professional era, but like they were always pretty famous for that, that they could look like $1 million 1 week. Like they'd pull out games like they did against the All Blacks at the World Cup, and then in the games in between World Cups, lose by 40 sort of thing. So, it's always been a little bit in their makeup to do that. So kind of a roundabout way of saying that I think, under normal circumstances, I think Ireland are still a better team. Certainly in games where there's a lot on the line, like there is like this for Scotland. I don't know. I mean, Scotland have had so few games that had a lot riding on it, if you know what I mean, because they just haven't been involved in these stages of competitions with things on the line. So I don't know what that means for them kind of mentally, but it's going to be interesting because it's two very contrasting styles as well. Scotland will want to play, Ireland will want to shut it down. Like a low scoring game suits Ireland, and a high scoring game kind of suits Scotland, I think here. I actually like the under. I backed some of the under previously. It's a bit of a free roll because I think the game goes under anyway, and plus you mentioned the weather, but I was seeing that there was the potential for kind of snow and rain, so it could be I think conditions could be a bit nasty. So and as I said, if it does, and if conditions are bad, or at least not ideal, I think that suits Ireland, and it would probably suit Ireland on the cap as well, because the one thing was, if Scotland come to play, well, it could go one of two ways. Scotland come to play and conditions don't suit them and they make mistakes, and Ireland will just be all over any kind of mistakes that they make. And then the other thing is that maybe conditions are fine, but if Scotland tighten up because of the I guess the significance of the moment.
Just quickly.
I go for it, Chris.
I just want to bag your date. We said, like, it seemed like Scotland played with like a kind of nothing to lose attitude last week. They had a free hit out there and they played that way. What I think I know of rugby in Scotland, they will tighten up against Ireland, and that's going to bring that unders and Ireland into play. I don't see them going, even though that might be the only way they might win. I just wonder if they actually actually have the balls, excuse the word, to actually go gun ho against Ireland when there's a Triple Crown and a Six Nations on the line. I just don't believe Scotland actually have that true self-belief. I think they go into their shell when they get to these type of games, and they just battle to score. They just make it really horrible. Becomes horrible.
Yeah, I think what Shane's saying there, conditions dictate a kicking defensive dogfight, and that would obviously suit the under and obviously suit Ireland. So, yeah, and the thing I always kind of have in the back of my head is that in that 50.5 number is kind of baked in that there was a 90-point game last week involving one of the teams, and I think we'll come to that maybe when we talk about France England, but it tends to overinflate some of these numbers. We've got a live forecast too coming in as well.
Yes, and when hopefully we can get. Yeah, and funny, just looking, I think I looked at the forecast yesterday, and it's definitely, the forecast that I look at has definitely got a bit worse. Certainly showing some showers around about game time and potentially through. So yeah, conditions may not be that great. So definitely it might be an unders or nothing play there on the points. To me, this is just a game I'm really looking forward to watching as well. Excited to see. I totally agree with you guys. It's going to be interesting to see if Scotland can sort of put, first of all, back-to-back performances, perhaps you could say 3 in a row together as well. And I mean, but if you also look at the game like Ireland, there's no incentive for Ireland to go for a 4-try bonus point. Yeah, they've just got to win the game, because even if they get 5 points, France will top them by beating England. So to give themselves a chance, they've just got to beat Scotland. Scotland, you could argue. But they'd only worry about that if they were in control of the game. Scotland, you could argue, could do with a bonus point try, because that would force France to get a bonus point win from England. But yeah, I think it's going to be very exciting. I'm leaning towards the unders there. And I do have I've already put a bet on the good game side. I do have probably my bet of the weekend coming up later, and I'm going to be interested to see what the guys think of that. But before we get to that game, let's get on to Wales up against Italy. And Nathan, Wales plus 3.5 here against the Italians. Italy, of course, have they won 2 games this season, and they're comfortably clear of Wales, who haven't won a game. And we've got a points line here of 45.5 under the roof.
I think I love Italy here. Like I think this line is wrong. Like I can understand it to some extent that it's an away game, and the only other thing I can really see is that Ferrari, one of the Italian props, is out, who's been a bit of a cornerstone for them, but they do have some decent depth. I think the other thing that people might be thinking is this kind of a bit of a letdown spot for Italy, having beaten England, but I don't think they're thinking, at least in my mind, I don't imagine that they're thinking that the England game is like capping off a great season. I think a great season for them will be winning 3 games, which correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm sure they've never done before, like in a Six Nations. I'm
sure. So I'm not going to check the records, but I'm sure you're right.
Yeah, so I think they would be massively disappointed to not win this game. I think it would be a real letdown for them. So they'll be max motivated for this one. Nothing that we've seen from either of these teams, kind of suggests that Wales are kind of currently in the same tier as Italy. Like Italy are kind of not knocking on the door of some of the the kind of tier above them, and Wales are kind of going the other way. So yeah, I really like Italy here. Like I think there's some genuinely borderline world-class players probably in the Italian team, and I was thinking to myself about whether with Menincello, is there a better centre in world rugby
he's
at
great.
the moment? I don't know that there is, to be honest. He's got the magic. So so love Italy here, and I'm also kind of looking at that points total and thinking it's a bit low. I do understand that Wales' attack has not been great. Italy, they're not like a team that's necessarily going to kind of rip anybody apart, but they have shown plenty of ambition, and so just wonder against a team with kind of a substandard defence, or at least by the standards of the teams that Italy have already beaten. That is there the potential for some of those their ambition that Italy showed to actually come through, and it's a low total, especially under the roof. So so that's kind of the direction I'm thinking with the points. But but I love Italy at the -3.5.
Yeah, excellent. Now, please, you also mentioned the points because I was also thinking that might be
And
a little bit low. And it's something Nathan said there, Chris. I really thought that could almost be the motivational speech, which if I was the Italy manager, I'd be saying exactly that to the guys. You've had a good tournament, but lose this game against Wales. It's going to take a lot of lust off. Beat Wales here. You're winning 3, as Nathan and I are of the belief that it's for the first time ever, and I'm pretty confident that is the case. I mean, that is, to me, the way Italy approach this. And Italy have, they've constantly been underestimated by the bookmakers, despite the fact that everyone acknowledges they're a better team. And I mean, last week, I took the plus double, but I actually quite liked the board double, and I actually had it typed up, and I never it's one of those things, you do things, some silly things once, and I was even going to put it in the newsletter, and the two upsets, and I never, the Scotland and the Italy upset, but they just underestimated all the time, and I'm with Nathan on this one. I think they potentially underestimated the game, and I also like the points here, but...
I like Italy are definitely the better side at the moment. There's no doubts about that. I liked Wales. I like Wales at 6 points, 7 points. I was hoping to get, and I've been all over Wales. I think what's been going through my mind today is those Wales performances against Ireland and Scotland. Where are they really? Because they've got them at the back of those teams, at the back of big wins. I think Scotland were just having a piss around as they usually do after big wins and against Wales. So I think maybe it's the sentiment part of me. Yeah, it's like one in Wales to win it. But Italy are the better side. So I am still leaning Wales, to be honest. I still think I'm gonna lean in Wales, but I'm way more on the points. So you guys have called it out already on the points. I saw the points earlier. I loved it at 40. I would have even taken it at 45. I was hoping for that's fine. I think 40. Overs is the right play for this game. I think stay away from what could happen. I think they're going to both throw the ball around. Wales have no defense, and where Italy get going, they'll score. Wales might get some points as well, so I think they will. I think the overs is the play. Yeah.
Right, Admiral coming in and just saying you can't watch the show fully tonight, but the only comment is if he's really been so confident, Ireland will win an important game. But he also said he's in terrible form, and I know the thing about the Admiral is he's young, so this is probably the first bad form run of his life. Like, Admiral, let me tell you, 30 years of playing, you are definitely going to have those runs. And in fact, the older I get, the more bad runs I seem to get. But it's the first time that I've ever seen Admiral struggling for 4 minutes. One of those things. You just got to play your way through it until you start finding the middle of the bat again on that one.
You do. You learn a lot. You actually do learn a lot from those bad runs. It can go in a few different directions. But for me, like it just always motivates me to work a bit harder. Look at process, look at things I can do better. And then the psychological side of it, like you just kind of, you build up a resilience to it, after a while.
In my first tenure...
sorry, Chris, go.
No, sorry. No. I was just saying...
Go for it, man, go for it.
No, go. It's a bit of a delay, go.
Nathan, I was just going to say, the way you go about things, there's probably a lot less emotion in than most people. So maybe, yes, you go through your runs, but I would imagine, I would imagine maybe you kind of, you maybe don't get as hard on yourself perhaps as a punter who's betting with more emotion. What do you think?
Possibly, yeah, because I don't feel like I'm betting opinions. I often thought about this. Like if someone came along and said to me, like, you don't know shit about rugby, I wouldn't care. Like, I'm not trying to pretend that I do know a lot about rugby. I've just got a process that I know works for me. And if somebody else says they know more about rugby, good for you. So that means I'm not. It's not my ego tied to an opinion on whether I know a lot about rugby, but there is ego, involved in creating a model and saying, I think this can beat the market. So I think there's always some ego involved in that, and so that obviously does take a toll when you are losing. But it's more like it's more the decision making. So why? Because at the end of the day, like the numbers that get produced, it's all just a tool, and you decide which ones you're going to fire on, which ones you don't. So if you make bad decisions. I made a bad decision last week. Like, I came home from the rugby after a few beers, and I went for the under, like on the Scotland-France game, and I don't know if I would have done that like under normal circumstances. So and then there was 90 points scored, and like, to be honest, like, if you lose by 1 or lose by 50, it really makes no difference to me. Like, because there's so much randomness that I don't tend to think about it that way.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It feels like if you've gone public with your bet and it's a 90, you think like, oh, but ultimately it didn't make a difference. It was 1. Of course, it used to make a difference for me because I was heavy into spread betting, and then it makes a huge difference. Chris?
Well, that's a perfect segue into how we bet in emotion, because I used to be far more emotional than I still am today. But back in my 20s, I think I definitely broke 3 mobile phones and 2 laptops, and 1 was a work laptop. And I remember I walked into work and I had to explain how I got up from the desk and the cord was stuck, and I don't know how this thing fell. But it was. And another one is I lived on a lake in Cape Town. It's called Marina de Gama, and I remember it was on a Saturday 8.
I've got relatives who live there.
Yeah, and I think I was a new phone, and I launched it right out the lounge window straight into the lake.
Man.
Yeah, but those were my early days. If any of my friends were watching this, they'll be laughing their head off because I was completely hot-headed. And those were the days. Like, I'll be honest, I had quite a juicy bet builder on, and in it was an under 75 on the Scottish game, and the old Chris. When I saw the score, I would have raged. But these days, I just take it on the chin. These things do happen, and I have to let you know that the broken record is I don't think I've broken anything in the last 10, 15 years, and that's the truth. So that was the young days, yeah.
Yeah, I've also calmed down a lot since the younger days. Right, let's move into the final game now. I think my best bet of the weekend's coming up in this game, and I'll be interested to hear if you guys can predict what that might be. And Chris, I'll start with you here. We got 15.5 France favourites over England. There was some early 12.5, and it has been backed out. And a points line of 62.5 at the Stade de France.
Yeah, to be honest, I haven't looked compared to the other 2 games. So a bit more stronger feeling, and obviously the strongest is that overs in the Wales game. This one I don't know. I think I'd rather just wait to see what the other 2 games have done. I'm not going to have a firm opinion because England is bitten now. I don't even know. There must be problems in that camp.
Chris, I'm just going to stop you there. Sorry, Chris. I'm just going to stop you there. Just simply the reason Mossman just messaged me privately. He has to hop off now. So I'm just going to get his opinion on this game.
Yeah, go.
Then we can go back to chatting.
I don't have an opinion.
I do actually, like, not on the handicap. Like, just in terms of pure numbers, it would be England, but I'm just not going to step in front of that daisy cutter again because I've been wrong on England so many times. But I do like the under here, and I sort of talked earlier about like points totals being inflated by last week, and I think there was a few things in that 90 points. So one was that there's a point in that game where France can't win, and they know they can't win, and Scotland know they can't lose, and France just need the bonus point. It's one of the weird quirks of the system where France just can sell out to score 4 tries, and they don't care about conceding. And you can play kind of high risk and just do whatever because it doesn't matter, at the other end of the field. And so you can go for a lot. It's probably something that Chris could tell you about in the NFL, where you get high variance games where teams will go for it on 4th down, because they don't care. They're just trying to score. Like they don't care about conceding. So there's that. And the other thing I noticed was that Angus Gardner, like who's a good ref. He was reffing it kind of in the way that Super Rugby gets reffed, not in terms of the laws, but in terms of the speed. So he's hurrying the teams up, trying to get them to play, all this kind of thing. And I there's so many chopping and changing with refereeing directives that I couldn't tell you for sure whether what he was doing was is consistent, or whether he was just bringing some of that kind of Super Rugby flavor to the game. But it was a hectic pace, and he was pushing it on, and I think that was contributing to that 90 points. And so that's why I think sometimes some of these things are inflated, and I think 62.5 is way inflated. Like you would not have seen. Go back through the last 10 games between these teams, and I think 50 is probably the highest you'll see. So it's way more than any recent England-France game by a lot. Some of them were in the mid 40s. I've seen one.
Just on that, because
Yeah.
you've nailed my bet spot on here. I reckon this is a 56.5 points line. I think this line is
absolutely
well out.
Yeah.
There's been a lot of high-scoring Six Nations final weekends, but the perception of that's a perception. But if you actually go look at it, 2 out of the 3 games in the last 2 years have actually been low-scoring. There's just been like one big high-scoring game, like what Nathan says will change your perception. And yeah, in fact, there was a 33-31 victory for France 2 years ago in Paris against England. And obviously that was a classic game, but it's very much a once-off in Paris, Nathan. I mean, like you say, you go back, you won't find a high-scoring game. The thing is here, France only have to win this game. Well, okay, there is an outside chance if Scotland beat Ireland with a bonus point that France would need a bonus point. So, but I don't think any of us would expect to see that happen in Dublin. So you'd think that France just have to win the game, and England, you've got to think, are going to be scrapping like hell just to get some pride back on this game. And there is a bit of rain about from what I've seen as well, certainly earlier in the day. So yeah, Nathan, I was going to ask you to predict my bet, but it sounds like we're on the same card.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So, under 62.5 is in my mind it's an enormous number of points for any Six Nations game, but especially involving these 2 teams and the history between them and all the rest of it. So, yeah.
So Nathan, I can take under 75 in my bet border. Yeah, you've
go for
sure?
it. Yeah, absolutely.
And Nathan, thanks, man. I know you got to pop off, so thanks a lot for coming in. Hope you enjoy the game with your mate and your kids, and have a good weekend.
Worries. Awesome. Thanks, guys. Cheers.
Yeah, thanks, Nathan.
Thanks, Nathan. That's the Mossman signing off. Chris, I know you didn't really have much of an opinion on this game, but I just interrupted you there to get Nathan.
No.
But what do you think of that unders play that Nathan likes? And as you say, I brought up the bet that I actually posted about a couple of hours ago. I put it up on Good for the Game. I looked at this points line and I went, obviously it could arrive. I mean, it can. We all know it could be wrong.
Yeah.
But I'm looking at the stats going, this points line's wrong. It shouldn't be, maybe 56.5, too low, 57, 58, I don't know. But 62.5, I'll be shocked if this points line is still there come kickoff.
No, I agree. It is too high. I mean, this is one of those, like even oracles say, it's the number. This is the number.
Yes.
It's a number that's wrong. We know it's wrong as people who've punted for as long as we have. And watch rugby, this is the wrong number. And you can play that number almost blindly, conditions, teams, or whatever, you know. So I agree. Look, obviously, like we said, it's been one weird Six Nations, and of course it can come through because really it's going to be. I know we're saying what France are going to be. I think France are going to be up for it. I think the problem is France at home playing for the championship. Well, I suppose they might know if they've already. They will have to still.
Well, they can't really have already won it. I was just looking at the table. It's a good question because they're on 16, same as Scotland. So let's just assume there's a result, and I'm talking about not a draw in the Ireland Scotland.
Yeah.
So even if it's a draw, that's 2 points for Scotland, maybe 2 for Ireland. But if Ireland win, they'll, France have to win, and if Scotland win, France have to win. So that's what's quite nice about this. Is often you get a situation where you don't really know how motivated the team will be because they've already won the thing. But that won't happen here. France have to win this game. The only risk I would say for points, the one thing is if Scotland somehow beat Ireland with a bonus point, then France would need to win with a bonus point. But like I said, I think that's extremely unlikely. But that would be a potential scenario.
Well, obviously, England's defense has fallen off a effing cliff as well. Like, I mean, if England were up for it, like surely they've got to be up for this, right? And if they're up for it, they've got to get into the trenches and stop France scoring a few opportunities that they are obviously going to be getting. So for me, it's more. I know France are coming hard and strong at home, and they're going to be tough. It's England. If England's
you need England to come to the party. If they be so poor that France beat them 50-0 type of thing.
Well, this is
that's also okay for that.
All that as well, right? But I mean, you don't know. I mean, I've said this before, and one of my big things is the 9, 10, 12 access for any international team, and that's where England are gone. They're nowhere near quality in those positions. They have some of the players, but they just don't know who the players are or give them a chance to thrive. And I think that's just worries because that's when the turnstiles open and the defense patterns break down. So, I mean, it's just you've gone from this 13 team or 13 win team to this. Like there is a performance in England to hold them to 10. 30-20 max. That could easily end up like that. So I don't think there's point playing silly buggers with the overs. Yeah, I mean, you can go for it. I mean, as you know, I'm naturally overs, but I wouldn't be playing over 62 in this match because that's even in my own gut and instincts, it's not the right play.
Yeah, as an overs punter, you'd say no bet on this one. Thank you very much. But I'm definitely on the unders. Got the money done, and if this line's still holding in the morning, a certain newsletter might be going out a little bit earlier than it has been over the last few weeks. I think I'll probably get this one out because I do like this line a lot. Anyway, Chris, that brings us to the end of the show, man. Thanks very much. What have you got planned for the weekend? Just watching a bit of sport, or are you up to anything else?
No, I'm not up to anything else. I'm going to take it easy. I worked last Saturday, so I haven't actually watched a hell of a lot of live Six Nations, the earlier games at least. I need to get in the last one. So I'm actually looking forward to sitting through Super Saturday and watching all the games, and I'm going to do that and enjoy it. And yeah, what about yourself? What you up to?
Yeah, also this weekend we got actually family coming around on Sunday, so it'd be good to see family that we see sort of 2 or 3 times a year. So we got them coming around to our place, but I'll just watch a bit of sport on Saturday. Yes, I'll hit the gym on Saturday morning, of course.
Hit six pull-ups. Yeah, it's got to be on video, otherwise it doesn't happen, eh? Otherwise it didn't happen.
100%. Shane asking about the handicap there on the England game. Personally, I'd rather points for me, Shane, on that game rather than the handicap. I just think that's my personal view on that one. But your best play of the weekend, Chris? Or your strongest fancies?
Yeah, I would say my strongest will be the over Canes, over 40 points. You know what? I'm gonna go on the unders in the Irish Scotland game. I think it will be a tighter game in the conditions that it's in.
Right?
Yeah, and I'll follow you on the under 62. Those will be my 3 strongest, and if other side one would be the Reds, maybe the Reds points as well. So yeah, those would be my strongest fancies.
Well, thanks to all the guys in the live chat. I wonder where Johan, are you still watching? We haven't seen your treble yet. I've got so used to seeing Johan's treble at the end of the show. By the way, when he can't watch the show, or when he's not yet at the end of the show, he does post it then in the comments underneath the recording. And
there it is.
There he comes.
Oh,
well, treble.
Good pressure.
Hold on a sec. That's it. Basically, okay. So the first 2 legs, I know you Ireland, Scotland, you're on. The Canes over 40.5, you're on. And the Brumbies.
And I also like the Libraries as well. So
you like the Brumbies. So has anyone ever seen Johan Esterhuizen at the Crow Tips in the same room together?
Nice, man. I love your thinking. Thanks for jinxing it, man.
They could be one and the same guy. Anyways, Johan, thanks very much. Thanks to the guys in the live chat. And thanks to at the Crow Tips on Twitter, or X as it's called these days. Good to have you on, mate, and have a good weekend.
Always good to chat rugby with the boys. Yeah. Cheers.